Wow, well, there's some really, really helpful comments there. And as you've been discussing, I've been trying to pull out a few key themes from our debate today. Not a comprehensive list, but just some of the things that I think have resonated through the day. The first one is around the board and executive team role, signalling what's important, challenging clinical performance, making sure that they've got the skills to do that properly, but also the data to back it up. We talked a lot about doctors and others being accountable for their actions and encouraged to admit it when human errors occur, and accountable for the use of information, but also that when that happens, the organisation response has to be proportionate with which to encourage that sort of behaviour. Thirdly, we talked about the value of just making information available in itself can help to shift performance. Doctors are competitive, they don't want to fail. But there's also something around the way that information is displayed so that it leads to action, triggers ideas. And I think we probably also have the same point about the information that's shared to the public. Martin made a plea for more imagination in the way that information's displayed, and people like to access information in different ways. So diversity is good in that sense. Diversity is not good in other senses, and I think there was a plea for more standardisation of data in the way that it was defined, and within organisations in the way that they're using particular terms so that they're used to mean the same thing. We've also talked about the investment in information systems, because electronic recording seems to be the only game in town if you're really going to shift performance improvement over time and reduce human errors. We've had 2 excellent case studies demonstrating that, and I think the consensus there was the question shouldn't be can we afford it, it was can we afford not to invest in this area. We've heard some great examples of the way that the NHS should keep up with consumers and the way that they access information, both in providing information in their own notes, and some great examples just then, but also making performance information more accessible on websites and in other formats. And then finally we talked a bit about the skills in information and analysis, whether it's built into the way that doctors and managers are trained, or whether it's about board members. The key message is that information is our business in the NHS. It's not just for the pointy-headed geeks. So those were just some of the points that came out, I think, from today's discussion. No doubt you'll take other points away with you when you go away from today.
Today, immensely interesting, rewarding, and dare I say it, has even made me feel a little more cheerful than I have been in recent weeks, and that's partly the reason for these seminars. I think today we've heard some particularly interesting examples of good practice and of how, used properly, information is a hugely powerful tool for the benefit of patients. I am, of course, aware, not only through my first inquiry into the events of Stafford, but also my professional experience, at the obstacles in the way of the proper use and deployment of information. And the main obstacle, I think, is probably one of fear. We all have an intrinsic fear of being assessed and scrutinised by others if we can possibly avoid it. And it's a natural human reaction. We all like to believe we do jolly well, and we prefer to rely on the informal praise of friends and colleagues who daren't tell us the truth than we do on objective information. We lawyers are particularly bad at that, I think. But there is a challenge in fear. There's the challenge of the individual not wanting information to be used to assess him or her. There's the fear of the organisation and its board of the wrong image being given, which the wrong image being the true image, unhappily in some cases. And then, above all, there is a fear that the information will get into the hands of people who can't be expected to understand it without an explanation by me, who is the person, is the only person who understands it properly. I think we live in an age where the power of information is increased unbelievably by it being given to as many people as possible, whether or not they understand it. The challenge is then how to explain to them, the people who own the service that you run, what that information means, in a way that not only do they understand, but they're prepared to believe and accept. And I believe that is the challenge we've been talking about today. And unhappily for me, it is now my job, if I can, to incorporate into the lessons of Stafford at least something about how information can be used better than perhaps it has been hitherto. But thank you all very much for your help today. I hope that you yourselves go away with at least something that you hadn't thought about before, or a way of thinking that you hadn't thought about before. And if so, I'd be very happy that that has happened. But thank you very much for today.